Hi everybody, I'm Valerie and I play flute with Inside the Orchestra. I'm so glad you guys are joining me for our art party today. We did this last week and we had a lot of fun with it, so we decided we would do it again. If you joined us last week, you guys did some really amazing artwork and I can't wait to see what you guys do this week. If you're joining us for the first time, I want to tell you a little bit of how this works. We are going to make some art today, and you guys can make art with anything you have handy. If the weather's nice where you are, you can go outside with some sidewalk chalk. If you want to use crayons, absolutely, pencils, markers, any kind of paint, whatever you have handy is great. So I'm going to give you guys a chance to get your art supplies set up. I have 5 short pieces. They're all about 3 minutes long, and I'm going to give you guys a chance to listen and see what those pieces remind you of. Maybe they're going to make you think of something really specific like a butterfly, or maybe they're going to make you think of swirly circles or something like that. Whatever you do is going to be awesome, and I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. My favorite part about this activity is seeing all the different interpretations you guys have, because of course art and music mean different things to different people, and that's what's great about it. Let's see here. So if I haven't met you before, my name is Valerie, and this is my flute. I play flute with Inside the Orchestra, and we mainly do concerts for young people in schools and some public events. So maybe I've met you before, maybe you've been to our concerts before at Tiny Tots or Inside the Orchestra, but I'm wondering if some of you guys are listening from somewhere else. Maybe you're not from the Denver Front Range area, maybe you've never heard our orchestra before, and if that's you, please comment and let me know where you guys are listening from. I love to see the way that, especially now, music can reach people all over the world. It's fantastic. Okay, let's see here. So I'm going to be playing a couple of different flutes for you today. This is the flute that you would normally think of. It's called a C flute. And then I'm also later going to play my piccolo. Can everybody see the comparison? It's about 1/3 the length of the flute. And it sounds about an octave higher. It's kind of high and squeaky. So I'm going to play that later. Stay tuned for that. But most of the time I just play this flute, and that's probably the kind you've heard me play before. Let's see. Let's give everybody one more minute to get all your art supplies ready. There we go. As you can see, I did some art. I made some flowers and some butterflies and things out of pipe cleaners. That was a lot of fun. This week I'm going to play for you, obviously, but next week we're going to have somebody else playing for you while you do your art party, and I'm looking forward to that because then I can paint along with you guys. All right, got your art supplies all set up, everybody? Okay. This first piece I want to play for you is an etude, and an etude is something that you're really not meant to perform. It's kind of just like a practice piece, so you can work on things to get better at home. But this collection of etudes is called Etudes de Salon. And a salon in the 19th century in France was like a fancy living room where you would have guests over, and maybe you would play some card games or play the piano for them. So this piece is kind of a practice piece that you're meant to really play for your friends in your living room, and that's where I am. And I'm glad you guys are here to listen. So while I play this, think about what it reminds you of. At the end, I'll tell you what the composer was thinking of, but I can't wait to see your interpretations. Hey guys, that was The Song of the Wind by a man named Jean. So maybe you heard some wind in there, maybe you thought of something totally different, and I can't wait to see what you guys think. Yes, if you guys are making some amazing art, please tag us, please send it to us, please share it with us. We love to see those. We saw some really, really amazing things last week, and I can't wait to see you guys come up with. We did this last week, but I'm playing entirely new music this week. You didn't hear that one last week, that one's new. And then the next one is actually from a piece that I did play last week, but it's going to be a different part, so you didn't hear this little bit last week. But before we move on, I want to give you guys a chance to wrap up that artwork and get set up for the next one. And I'd like to share with you a little bit about how I chose these pieces. First of all, I chose pieces that I can play by myself. Some pieces just wouldn't make a whole lot of sense with just one instrument. For instance, half of a duet wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. There are things that a percussionist or a drummer could do that I just really can't do on my flute. So I didn't pick any of those pieces that wouldn't really make sense. I tried to make choices that would make a little bit of sense with just myself. And then I also chose pieces that I really enjoy playing and enjoy listening to. Believe it or not, I don't like all music. It's kind of like food, you know, some of us like broccoli but don't like lima beans, that kind of thing. And that's the way it is for me. So I chose only my favorite music to play for you guys. I also tried to choose things that are a little dynamic to me, that remind me of a certain feeling or a certain image, so that you guys can do the same thing. So that first one was wind. Maybe you guys thought of something a little more tangible or a little more specific. I hear a little bit of wind in there. Mostly I hear leaves flowing in the wind, you know, kind of floating, falling from the trees and falling to the ground. That's what I think of when I play that piece. All right, are you guys ready to move on? Okay. Like usual, I'm not going to tell you what the piece is until after, and that way I don't spoil any of your interpretations, because I'm really here to see what you guys think of this music. But don't worry, if it sounds familiar, I will tell you what it is after the fact. Okay, guys. Oh, I see Derek knows what that one was. If that sounded a little familiar, that's because that is from the ballet The Nutcracker by Tchaikovsky. And parents, that one was for you because that is the coffee dance. I think I needed a little bit of that this morning. My first interaction with that piece was actually on the original Fantasia, but that's the one where you see the goldfish and she's dancing around and moving very slowly through the water. And that's what I always think of when I hear this, although now I appreciate the coffee aspect of that piece. Okay, so does everybody know what a ballet is? A ballet has a story and has music, but it also has dancers, right? That's actually most of it. The dancers are telling the story, and usually there are no words. Nobody's speaking. They just tell the story with their bodies and their dances and their costumes, and then of course the music. So that's one of the most famous ballets, I think, in America, the Nutcracker. Next, I would like to play something called a theme and variations. This is a pretty a common form in classical music. You've probably heard them before, even if you didn't know what they were called. So what the composer does is they pick a theme or a song or a tune, something very simple that they like, and then they take that theme and they make it a little more detailed, and then they change it up a little bit, and then they change it up even more. So this theme is from the Carnival of Venice, but I think you guys might recognize this tune as "My Hat, It Has Three Corners." At least that's what I think of whenever I hear this tune. So listen for this tune in this piece. So you guys are going to hear that several times in this next piece. But every time you hear it, it's going to be a little bit different. So if you are an adult or an older child and you're looking for a little more challenging of a task here, I would challenge you to start off with something very simple, like just one color or one shape. And then as you hear that tune come back again in different ways, see how you can change it. Okay, here we go. Okay guys, so that was a theme and variations on my hat. It has 3 corners. You may have noticed I made a little mistake at the end. I do make mistakes sometimes. I try to practice so that I don't make mistakes, but when I do, you know, it's okay, hopefully, as long as it's okay with you guys. And maybe when you're painting or coloring, you're making a little mistake here and there, and that's great. That's just human. So hopefully you can just color right over it and keep moving on, because that's what I'm gonna do. Okay guys, the next piece I want to play for you is going to be on my piccolo. So my piccolo is about 1/3 of the size of my flute. If I wanted to, I could put 3 piccolos together and it would be about the size of my flute. And this is not made out of the same, at least all of the same materials as my flute. Does anybody remember from last week what my flute is made out of? It's made out of a kind of metal. Most flutes are, although there are some older flutes that are still made out of wood. But this one is mostly made out of silver and a little bit of gold too. But this is actually wood. So you'll see it's a very dark color. It's actually a type of wood that grows this color. It's not painted or anything. It just grows black like this. It's called grenadilla. And then I have buttons, just like on my flute. I have keys, and these keys are made out of silver. So when I play the piccolo, it's gonna sound kind of high and squeaky. The smaller the instrument is, the higher the sound, which is why when you hear a big tuba or a big string bass, it has a really low, deep sound. So this is the highest instrument in the orchestra, and sometimes it can play really, really loud. Hopefully I don't wake my son up from his nap. So I'm gonna back up from the camera a little bit, and you may need to turn down your sound just a little bit towards the end when it gets really high and loud. Okay guys, some of you might have recognized that as the Stars and Stripes Forever March by John Philip Sousa. Let's see, Sarah asks, do I prefer to play the flute or the piccolo? You know, I like both. Piccolo is really fun, but I guess I prefer to play the flute. It's nice because they have different repertoire, meaning different pieces written for both of them, so it's nice to change it up a little bit. I will say that I think the piccolo is a little harder to play. Everything here has to be much smaller and much more controlled because my target is much smaller, so it is a little tricky. Amy asks, does my son like to listen to me practice? I think think he does. He likes to listen to me practice, and he has a little wooden recorder that he likes to blow on when I'm practicing. So he's practicing too. And then, of course, when I was pregnant, when he was in my belly, I was playing a lot of Mozart. So he's always liked Mozart. I think that's because he was listening to it when he was still in my belly. What is the range of a piccolo? Can I play the highest note and the lowest note? Good question, Hillary. So the lowest note is this. That's a D5. For those of you musicians out there, and then the highest note I can play, boy, I might have to approach it from a lower note. Let's see how high I can go. Whew, that's a C7 maybe. That one's really high. I don't often play those higher notes, but sometimes I do. This one, the highest note in this piece was a high A flat. Still pretty high. In fact, it's very high and loud in my ear, and sometimes when I'm practicing at home, I actually put a little earplug in my ear so I don't damage my ears. That is pretty high. Okay, did any of you guys hear the march in that piece? Were you marching along maybe? Did it make you want to stomp your feet? I can't wait to see what artwork you guys did for that one. Okay, we're getting towards the end now. I just have one piece left for you. I'm going to move back to flute for this one. So I hope you guys have had fun doing this with me. I've had a lot of fun both last week and this week. And as always, my favorite part is seeing the artwork that you guys come up with. So please do post that and tag us in it. We would love to see that. Next week, we're going to be back with another art party, but it's going to be a different musician. We're going to change it up a little bit. So I'm going to be painting and coloring along with you guys while you listen to somebody else play. So since this is kind of a little goodbye, I wanted to play a goodbye song. And I'll go ahead and spoil this one for you. This is Aloha Oi. And I love this because the word aloha in Hawaiian can mean hello and goodbye. Okay guys, thanks so much for joining us for our art party today. Sarah says my 2-year-old says this song sounds like going to sleep, and she just covered me with a blanket. Boy, this is good nap time music, isn't it? Okay guys, thanks so much for joining me. Don't forget to tag us in your art posts. We would love to see those. And join us again next week with a different musician for another art party at 10 a.m. Mountain Time on Saturday. Thanks guys, bye.